Um, what you're saying is making me think about this this what we've been discussing is making me think about pure aeternus. And if you don't know what pure aeternus is, in Jungian psychology, it means, child God, or in modern terms, like man child. And I think that pure aeternus is a thing that needs to be slain inside of a person in order for them to grow. It's not a dragon, it's not a serpent, it's its own category. It's kind of like a snitch, I would say, in like the Harry Potter Quidditch game. That small little thing that if you capture it, the game's over, and the one that seizes it, that team wins. So in other words, it's very unique, it's very evasive, but that thing needs to be slain. And I think in a way it is like a personification of those seven deadly sins, the vices. Um, yeah.
It's interesting. Kind of just think about that. So, you mentioned the Harry Potter thing about how it's kind of reminding me of football a little bit, somewhat. Not, su- I don't, I haven't watched it in so long, so I can't be exactly sure. But the way you're talking about like how you have to grab something, or because of how hard it is to get, right? You could kind of relate that to life as well. It's like, you know, your aspirations and the life that you want to live, right? Right. It is very hard to attain and grasp. But obviously, if you go in the wrong directions, you won't be able to get it.
Yeah, that reminds me of a quote from the Alexander movie, which is, "Oh, we reach, we fall." And I like that quote. Anytime he says that, Colin Farrell, "We reach, we fall." It's man's story, eh?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, obviously, like when you examine the life of Alexander the Great himself, it's like he, like as much as he gained, like in terms of conquest, he also did lose things on the way as well, such as like, his father, right? And then there's obviously like instances of him losing his friends, right? Right. And even his soldiers, of course. So it's like when you sometimes gain a victory, you might lose something as well. It's kind of like, that just sounds super edgy, but it's kind of like the universe balancing itself, right?
Yes, actually, I really like how you mentioned this because recently on my podcast, I discussed with one of my friends how over the summer, for such a long time, I felt like a cooped up artist, right? I had a lot of ideas and visions inside of my head and within my soul, but I never quite manifested them into reality. And it was only in this past summer that I actually took those visions and ideas and I put them out into the real world. And when I was able to do that, it was liberating. It was freeing. The way I put it was, once I freed the pigeon, it allowed for the eagle to manifest, right? Eagle being a symbol of freedom. So I totally see that. But here's the thing: as a because I've been liberated or freed from that, I feel more stiff. I feel more rigid. I feel more adult, so to speak. Whereas before I was more charismatic, more loose, more lofty. So it feels in a way like you did have to trade something or sacrifice something. Or it's like you've left a piece of yourself, a part of yourself behind. Something along those lines.
That's interesting. I like how you mentioned like a personal experience as well, like how you know, literally like you gain something, but then you kind of have to sacrifice something else, right?
Yeah. And in a way, it's interesting because it wasn't consciously done,
Yeah,
But the way I put it for myself personally is I see it kind of like the death of pure eternus within me. That's how I would articulate it.
it's interesting you keep mentioning that. You've
Yeah,
clearly
it's,
studied the literature.
would you say?
Said you've clearly studied the literature.
I would hope to, or yeah, I like to think I have, but it's something that has been on my mind for some time now. It's just an interesting concept, you know?
Yeah, that's true.